We acknowledge each year that the daily word description of mothers and who they are and what they provide are not the experience of everyone who is gathered here on this Zoom. Not everyone has the experience of their mother that the daily word describes, the nurturance, the love, the support, the compassion, the embrace, the understanding, all the good stuff. What I like to remember is that our purpose for being alive is not simply to access what is available to our human selves. I believe that we are souls, that we are eternal beings, that we are children of the Almighty One, and that we have not come here for our own human purposes. We are here on a mission of the soul, the all-knowing being, the radiant being that we are. And I believe that each of us, on the level of the soul, has gotten the mother we were supposed to get for the purpose of the soul's awakening. Once again, some of us received a lot of good stuff from our moms, and some of us missed out on an experience of feeling like we received good from our mom. But is it possible that at the level of the soul, we got the exact and precise mother that we needed for the soul's purpose of awakening? Tapping into the light within us. I did a process with a group of people this week that I really want to invite us to take part in this morning. I thought that I wanted to hear some things from you all. And so today I would like to invite anyone who would choose to or be willing to speak some words to your mother in the presence of the rest of us. Just sincere words from your heart. I don't want you to tell any of us about her. I want you to speak to her in our presence. I would begin with, Mom, on this Mother's Day, I want to say to you, ... and then follow through. I'll begin. Mom, on this Mother's Day, I want to say to you that I am grateful. I am grateful that for the most part, my experience of you is one of the relationship described in today's daily word. I want to thank you for all of the love, all of the encouragement that you gave me, and that you're still giving me from the other side. I want to thank you, Mom, for all of the examples you provided for me in how to be, that I said, I want to be like that. I also want to thank you, Mom, for the examples of behavior that you demonstrated for me that gave me the thought, I don't want to be like that. I want to thank you for the whole thing, Mama, for what seems to work and what seemed not to work. I know that you're my sister, Mama, and that you did the best you could. Thank you. Anyone who would like to take the mic and speak to your mama in our present, anything that is in your heart to say to her, we would appreciate it. She will appreciate it. And you will appreciate it.
I'll say something. Mom, it wasn't always very smooth with us at times. I had a lot of anger towards some of the situations that I felt you kept me in. But I am grateful that as I've gotten older, and I know you're no longer here with me physically, but elsewhere, that I've come around to have compassion and forgiveness for you and for myself. And I'm grateful I can see you in a broader perspective than as a little kid, as that saying goes. When I was young, I saw only as a child, and now I see a little more maturely. So happy Mother's Day, wherever you may be. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Who would like to go next? Well, I will. Hi, Mom. On this Mother's Day, I want you to know that you are my greatest teacher in all things. Not just the typical mom things like how to use a toilet, but how to understand the world, how to respect every human being, how to have courage of your convictions, and how to love and listen to everyone with respect. You did it far better than I ever could. Doesn't mean you were perfect. No one is. But it's your love that came through. And I know that right now you're listening to everyone's problems up in heaven and helping them figure out the right thing to do.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom. It was a mixed relationship we had over the years. I'm grateful that we had a long time together, and I think we both grew together. That I was angry with you for lots of reasons growing up. You were angry with me most of the time too, but somehow we got through it, and I'm grateful that you taught me that you didn't leave. You didn't leave. You just didn't just quit on me. And I didn't quit on you, and that is a valuable life lesson. That we kept going at it. We've almost knocked each other out doing it sometimes, but I, I'm just so grateful that you taught me how to hang in there and try and find a way um, to work through tough times. And in the end, to be able to know that you loved me and I could tell you I loved you. Happy Mother's Day.
Hi, I'll take a chance. Happy Mother's Day. You've been gone about 5 years, but I feel your presence with me always. I know I was difficult as a teenager, but we got beyond that, and uh, you taught me to keep persevering, to enjoy life have a good time with a sense of humor, and to have faith in myself because you did. And I wish you were here now. Love to you, Mom.
Hi, Mom. Oh, nice to connect in this way. Thank you. I don't know that you're looking over everything going on, so I want to thank you for continuing to teach me in a way you may not know, in that I've recently learned about a lot more about your experience as a refugee and an immigrant, and it's taught me so much about compassion. And I've really understood deeply lately, as Rev Carlos said today too, you did the best you could. And everybody does that. And I getting that, it helps me learn to forgive everybody. We're all doing the best and what we think is right at the time. So that's a really deep ongoing lesson that you've been my main teacher of. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, dear Mom, I miss you and happy Mother's Day. We definitely had kind of a rocky relationship kind of earlier in my life. But then later, we ended up really healing after I started going, like doing the Course in Miracles and those kinds of things. So I feel so blessed to, and then my mom and I also got along so much better after that. And we both learned how to forgive and just how to, so I'm just so grateful to get to be, to have her, and then she did so much for me and just to help. Yeah, and then yeah, so I appreciated kind of everything she did for me. And yeah, so, and I miss her. She passed a couple of years ago, so I missed going to church with her. So yeah, and I'm just grateful that we got to share, kind of enjoy some of our lives together. So thank you. Thanks. Happy Mother's Day. I missed you.
Thank you, Unity. Um, Happy Mother's Day, Mom. Um, you know, as we say here in Unity, we recognize everyone did not have a wonderful relationship with their mom. And I always appreciate that statement, because I realize that, in fact, is true, that that's not everyone's experience. However, that was my experience. You were a terrific mom, always supportive, always in my corner. Um, and I realized only, of course, as I got older, how blessed I was to have had a mom who was wise, loving, caring, supportive, and absolutely contributed to the person that I have grown to be. So on this, your day, uh, blessings to you. Thank you for being you. Thank you for allowing me to choose you to be the spirit that I came to and came through. And enjoy your day today and always. Love, Bobby.
Thanks, Bobby. Anyone else?
Happy Mother's Day, Mom. I, like Bob, was fortunate to have a mom who modeled unconditional love for her children, and especially for me. and I was not your normal kid. I didn't kind of I didn't follow the stuff you were supposed to follow. And let's just say I drew outside the lines or something like that. And I remember fondly, I think it was just before we got married, and people were telling stories about me and the things that I got in trouble doing when I was younger. And the person doing the loudest belly laughing about all of it was my mom. And mom, you modeled a kind of spiritual tuning for me, which sort of uh, came naturally to me, but seemed like a foreign language in terms of how most of the world worked. So that kind of meant we had that in common. And you modeled kindness, choosing to be kind, even when that wasn't necessarily the natural thing to do, and certainly wasn't the thing my dad modeled. Um, so, so, and thank you for putting up with all that with my dad, and sticking around all those years, and for supporting me so that I could go where I wanted to go uh, for college, and uh, and for loving for loving curiosity, and and sort of personal self-discovery, and just kind of feeling like somebody was marveling at me experiencing that for myself, not trying to tell me what I should do, but allowing me to be whatever it was that I was going to become, which was, of course, and continues to be, a process of discovery. It's the practice of self discovery. Anyway, thank you, Mom. I love you. My mom is still with us, will turn 96 this June.
Wow.
Thank you.
I think, Reverend Carlos, there's too much to say, not too little.
I have one more thing to say, which is I would like to say a personal thank you to Reverend Carlos's mom, Norma Jean, who who my wife Carol was a sociology major at UMass Amherst and was planning to get her graduate degree in sociology. And a friend said, "You've got to go hear this woman speak. She's really fantastic." And Carol did, and fell in love, and decided that she was instead going to get her master's degree in education. And in some strange way, I mean, it's like kind of a miracle that to somehow, after so many years and never kind of really knowing much about all this, to be able to connect with Reverend Carlos. Uh, but I sort of feel like if Carol hadn't made that choice, right, things probably wouldn't have lined up in a way that we would have ever, in fact, met.
Yep.
So that is Carol and me, and certainly most likely never me and Rev Carlos. So it's this thing of how things connect over, enormous periods of time. It's just it's astounding. So thank you, Norma Jean.
Thank you.
Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you, Norma Jean. It's cosmic. We live in our cosmic reality. It is amazing. But make sure I give room for anyone who is just deciding, I'm going to share. I'm going to talk to Mom. And if there is no one else, I want to thank those of you who did share, and I want to encourage those of you who chose not to, that it might be a blessing to you to at some other time before this day is over, if you would just share with your mom. She'll hear you. It'll bless her. No matter what it is you have to share. It could be nothing but a critique, but it will be a blessing because it will be a sharing of your honest, heartfelt communication. I think that I told some of you at Unity in the City, I think we were back in one of the schools that had bleachers. It may have been, I think it may have been the first school we were in when I first was invited to speak. And I'll just do a very brief on it. I only knew one family that had triplets. Triplets are awesome, but I think in my whole life experience coming up, there was only one group of triplets, and they were all boys. And their father was an absentee father, and their mother had her boys at a very young age. I believe that she had gotten impregnated by the dad, the boyfriend, at 15 and a half, and she suddenly had not one baby, but 3 babies, like in her, by the time she was in the middle of her being 16 years old. The boyfriend did not stay around. She went on welfare so that she could pay expenses to have shelter and food. And she succumbed to a pretty intense experience of dysfunction and alcoholism. And by the time her 3 boys they were still in grade school, still in like the 4th or 5th grade, they were pretty much taking care of themselves. Her dysfunction was so intense. She had an endless stream of men in and out of her life who would come in and pretty much abuse the boys and abuse her, and they would go off, and she would pretty much remain in a drunken stupor most of the time. And it was amazing witnessing these 3 boys at 12 and 13 years old completely providing for themselves. It was them who were able to hustle and cut grass and shovel snow and take bottles back for the deposit and do whatever they could to provide coal for the furnace and food for the table. And their clothes were sad to witness. At any rate, when they grew up, one of them pretty much emulated their mom's entire experience. He became an alcoholic. He dwelt in depression and dysfunction. And he had to live off of the good graces of others around him because he could not provide for himself. When asked what he thought was that cause of his predicament, he said, "Mom, how could I be anything other than what I am? I'm Mama's son." One of the brothers did not succumb to alcoholism. He was just an average guy. He got a job at a gas station when he was 14 years old. And he still had that job when he was in his 40s. He was now the manager of that gas station. He was an average guy. He wasn't particularly necessarily happy, nor was he particularly necessarily sad. He was just a self-provider. When asked what sponsored his experience of not really being happy or sad, just kind of in the numb area and only concerned with providing for himself, no goals or aspirations beyond provisions. When asked what shaped his psychology, my mom. When I watched her level of dysfunction and her incapacity to provide for us, I just said the one thing I'm going to grow up to be able to do is to provide for myself. And one thing I'm going to grow up to do is never to get involved with drinking hard liquor. The third son actually grew up to be a counselor. And he counseled people with depression. He counseled people with dysfunction. And he counseled people who were under the influence of alcohol and other substances. He became very, very credible. And he began receiving invitations to travel around the country to different organizations and different groups. And he was, by everyone's testimony, one of the most outstanding, clear, and powerful instruments for the transformation of people who had struggled with alcoholism and depression and dysfunction. He was highly successful, not rich, but nicely well off. He was a big giver. He had a family that he provided for, and he also put together 2 small organizations that provided food, shelter, and clothing for other impoverished young people in the community that we lived in. He was very happy and felt very fulfilled. When asked what sponsored the man who he had become and the accomplishments that he had accomplished, he said, Mom. Mom's level of dysfunction hurt my heart. Yet it inspired me to grow up to be someone who could do something for people like her. And so even as a child, that was my goal. I want to help people like Mama. Triplets, the same mom, who, to hear their testimony, acknowledged her as the sponsor for who they became. It's not what happens. It's what we do with what happens. It's not who she is. It's who I say she is. We have an opportunity to reinterpret the stories of our experience throughout our lifetimes. And I loved it when you, John, spoke, and several people, when I did the gathering, spoke about the beauty of being a child who had judgments, who grew into an adult whose judgments were replaced with understanding. She did the best she could. And that's all she could have done. If the teachers that I have resonated with, who have declared to me that at the level of our soul, beyond our humanity, at the level of our eternal soul. Each and every one of us got the perfect mom to provide the perfect opportunity for us to make the choices of who we will be. I thank you all for your willingness to speak to your mama in my presence. It's a blessing and it's a delight. And whoever your mama is, I want to thank you, her. I want to thank you, your mom, for not aborting you and not miscarrying you, for giving you birth into life beingness. If that's all she had done, it would have been enough. Thank you to all our moms. Thank you to our Mother Earth. Thank you to our mother country, the United States of America. Our mom, imperfect, yet perfect in her imperfection. Our world, imperfect, yet perfect in her imperfection. Our country, the United States of America, imperfect, yet perfect in her imperfection. And me, imperfect, yet perfect in my imperfection. As I grow and expand and become all that God has called upon me to be. I end today's sharing with two of my favorite words that have become many of our favorite two words. Yea, God.